Well, despite Craven being the worst bomb ever for the Sony Spider-Verse, it sounds like they're regrouping and they might try again. Are you kidding me? That's right, we've got a new update from Sony, and it seems like they are indeed going to regroup, try again, and they might even cast their own Spider-Man. Do you have any faith in this? I gotta say, guys, after this track record, I really don't. Now, normally we try to keep it pretty positive, but this is beyond frustrating. Let's be fair, Sony Pictures has pretty much done everything it can, in my opinion, to screw up the Spider-Man franchise over and over again. Outside of the Spider-Verse animated movies, which we can attribute to Lord Miller, basically everything since Amazing Spider-Man, including Amazing Spider-Man 2, has pretty much been hot garbage from Sony Pictures. Now, earlier this week, Kraven the Hunter dropped, and not only is it a massive bomb at the box office, the reviews are absolutely tragic. Now, we've been talking a lot how Sony is going to be giving up on these villain movies, and apparently that is indeed happening. But now we've got another update from Deadline, and it sounds like this might not be the end of the road, no matter how much us fans really want. Now, according to Deadline, Sony is, quote, taking this misfire very seriously and has a reset in store. Now, I have to say, a reset is not what I'm looking for. And along with a reset, apparently they are indeed looking to cast their own Spider-Man in their own Spider-Verse. Now, despite reports they weren't really able to do that with their contract with Marvel, it has been recently revealed Sony could have done that all along, and that seems like it was a huge mistake not to. Now, at this point, we have no idea what this means for projects that are already in development or kind of being discussed. Things that come to mind are the Sinister Six and that Agent Venom story we ran with a couple of weeks ago. But if Sony is going back to the drawing board and doing a reset, I suspect everything they have on the table will be thrown in the trash. Now, the main question becomes, is this even worth salvaging over at Sony Pictures? And many fans, myself included, really don't think that's the case. Now, Venom did okay at the box office, but those diminishing returns saw The Last Dance as the worst performer, and that's saying a lot comparing it to Morbius and Madam Web, who were just absolute bombs, and the only movies they seem they might outperform are Craven. Now, I'm not gonna lie guys, I find this infuriating because Sony keeps on screwing this up, and they are definitely damaging the Spider-Man brand. I have zero faith in Sony at this point to handle these characters properly. After multiple huge failures and disconnects from the fans, and just simply not listening to the fans, well, I don't think the audience is there, and they're only damaging the intellectual property at this point. I also think there's little to no chance they can compete with Marvel Studios, having Tom Holland front and center on that side of the house. Now, we don't get to look at the contracts. Obviously, we didn't know the details of what they could and couldn't do leading into this, but at this point, I really doubt Sony is going to cast a Peter Parker, or maybe even worse, a Miles Morales in live action, which would deny us that character in the MCU, and then somehow build a franchise around that fans will connect to, and might even have to choose over their Marvel Universe counterpart. Now, there was a lot of calls for an Amazing Spider-Man 3 from Andrew Garfield shortly after No Way Home kicked off, and I will say, there is some enthusiasm for that, but it seems like at this point, that ship may have sailed. Many people forget the hot mess that was Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's some great scenes in that movie, but it always felt like four people running down a hallway with different scripts that ran into each other, and then you just picked up the collective piles of paper and called it a movie. Even though Garfield is probably their best bet, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with a new actor since they're referring to this as a reset, and this will definitely set up lots of future problems with their relationship with Marvel Studios, which will, I'm predicting this right now, ultimately lead to Spider-Man being pulled from that universe, probably at the end of the current contract. Now, at this point, I'm sure you guys are as frustrated as me. I'm just going to keep on watching this, guys. I don't know what Sony is doing. I have zero faith that they can do it right. And this regrouping and reset, well, this is just because Spider-Man is one of the biggest intellectual properties in the whole world, and Sony is so bad at it, they can't even get that right. There's a certain point you hope Sony just sells off Columbia to somebody, the rights revert back to Marvel, and we can just move into a new era of actual good supporting Spider-Man films. He has a lot of great characters in his mythos. These films could have been great, but Sony screwed the pooch, and it's going to take a long time to undo the damage. What do you guys think? Do you think Sony has any chance of resetting their Spider-Man universe and bringing fans back into theaters? And do you even plan on supporting it if they do? Sound off in the comments below. Now, before you take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell for all the updates, and make sure you get every notification because we do daily Marvel and DC content and we don't want you to miss any news.